There's nothing that I haven't heard that you can't undo or rewind, okay? Welcome to the Rachel and Drew Show. I'm Rachel. Drew's over here in the corner staring at me. Today, I am going to talk to you guys about what to do if you find yourself in the trenches. So, as business owners, especially, I would say post-COVID, I feel like I've heard more and more frequently about people not just being in the trenches, like being in the trenches in your business and, you know, rolling up your sleeves, getting dirty, doing what you got to do to get things moving along is one thing. But when you're actually in the trenches and like it literally feels like you can't dig yourself out, that's the kind of thing that I want to talk about today. So most times when we meet people on the phone or on Instagram or Zoom or whatever, when you guys slide into my DMs, it's usually one of three things. You want to start your business, you want to save your business, or you want to scale your business. Most times people want to scale it, but they can't because they don't realize that it actually needs saving first. Or they think that, oh, if I open this new location, that's going to be the thing that's going to bring me more money into my business. And I'm also guilty of that as well. I truly do think that we opened our second location a little too soon. And, you know, despite knowing what I know, despite having great systems, despite having great people, you know, when you love everyone so much and you care about everybody so much, you want to give and create opportunity for your people. And sometimes that really looks like you taking a massive risk for everyone else. And so that's kind of what happened with our second location. And, you know, obviously you commit to it. I'm going to commit to whatever I do. I'm going to take it all the way and do whatever I got to do to get it to work. And our salon works, and it's almost 3 years old now, that second location. But I want you guys to know that when you're, you know, if you are having cash flow problems, if you are having budget issues, you are wondering like, why did I set my service pricing up the way that I did? How the hell do I pay my people? Or, oh, I promised everyone 50% commission. Now what? You know, I can tell you like, there's nothing that I haven't heard that you can't undo or rewind. Okay. So it does take time. It does take definitely strategy. A lot of times I see people when they're in the trenches, they're just clinging on to anything they can. And they're not really thinking through the decisions they're making because they're acting very like impulsively and they're very reactive to the situation. Chances are you definitely didn't get into this situation overnight, and it definitely isn't going to be an overnight couple decisions or step by steps. It's going to pull you out. But I do want to let you guys know that, you know, if what you're doing is not working, please stop doing the exact same things you're doing month after month after month, thinking that it's just going to be time that's going to get you out. You know, it really comes down to getting into your numbers. Okay. So not just doing that, but what does that look like? Okay. So number one, that's going to be actually having a profit and loss statement from your CPA. If you don't know what a CPA is, or you don't have a profit and loss statement, I would say probably 90% of the people I talk to do not get a P&L every single month from their CPA. If you do, you are one of the very lucky 10% of people that have an actual decent, good CPA that's doing their damn job. Most people, you can get one, but you have to go ask for one. You're not going to get one like in your email on the 15th of the month for the previous and everything's all tidied up. It's something that you have to have in order to know, number one, what just happened. That's all a P&L is what just happened. Okay, what's to come, that is not going to be found in your P&L unless you're, okay, if I'm getting a rinse and repeat of what I just got, okay? So a P&L is your profit and loss statement. That's going to basically have it be a picture of all of the money that came in, all the expenses that went out, and then what was left over, okay? So if you are a stylist or a service provider, you know, in your business, and your service money is dumping into the same bucket as your salon's money, it's probably very likely that you know, you are the breadwinner of your business and most of your services are paying your salon or spa's bills. And I used to be in that boat as well. And I had to separate my service income from my salon's checking. I had to completely separate it at a different checking account. I later, probably within 6 to 9 months later, actually ended up opening my own LLC for myself as a stylist. And then I allowed my salon owner salary to flow from my salon. And then I had my independent contractor money for being a hairstylist. I did not commingle the two together. I like to see them separate. I still have them separate to this day. So the main thing is like you have to identify what expenses do you have that you are like, they're not negotiable. You have to have them, right? Like your rent. Okay. Now if you're in a lease and what I'm about to say, if you realize, oh shit, that's my percentage of what I'm spending is way higher than 10%. Look, you signed your lease. Okay. It's probably hard to get out of your lease. You know, you probably personally guaranteed it. If you are up for renewal, maybe you have an opportunity to change that. But the fastest, best way to get your margins better on your overhead is going to be to increase your sales. Easier said than done. It's actually a lot simpler than you might think, because if you, let's say, okay, I'm 20 grand in the hole every month, as an example. If you're 20 grand in the hole, you have however many, maybe 24 opening days to now work towards, you know, okay, if I need to find 20 grand, how can I find it? Well, it's going to be that each day you need to increase your sales by probably $800 that you're open. And then before you know it, by the end of the month, you're going to have, you know, your 20 something grand laying there. But most people don't realize they're in the hole until they're already in the hole. And then they're like clawing on the walls of the hole they're in, trying to get out, and they can't. Or they go take on debt to pay debt, or they go charge something on a credit card. You know, and it's so easy to put stuff on cards these days, because you've got Afterpay, you have Klarna, you have, you know, we have United Chase cards, you know, and I get hit with, you know, oh, do you want to do a Chase plan on this purchase? It's like, no, I fucking don't, you know, and I say no, and we pay our cards off every single month. It's easy to prolong the expense, but what it really ends up costing you long term, other than, you know, stress and pain and everything else, is it's costing you, depending on how long you drag it out, it's probably costing you 25% interest or more when it's all said and done. When really, you know, what's out of sight is going to be out of mind. You're going to likely forget about the expense. It's just ripping the Band-Aid off slower, but at the end of the day, there's still a wound there. So the best thing to do is to increase your sales and decrease your overhead. If you can't decrease your rent, which most of us can't, we've already, you know, signed it. It is what it is. The best thing next that you can do is to go in and look at all of your recurring expenses. So in your profit and loss statement, if your CPA is capturing everything correctly, keep in mind your profit and loss is going to show by category. It's probably going to say something like rent, overhead, utilities, you know, technology, payroll, you know, stuff like that. And it's going to be a bunch of line items that are lumped into a bucket that's called payroll. A bunch of line items that are lumped into a bucket called overhead. That is not enough for you to see what's going on. So please, like in order for you to understand your numbers, you're going to have to tell your CPA, this is what I want to see on my profit and loss statement, because it's mine. This is my profit and loss statement. This is not your, you know, maybe this works for your other clients, but for me to really be able to know what my numbers are, I need to see this data differently. And so I like to see things broken out into like micro buckets. Okay. So overhead, sure. Large line item, but then I like to see, okay, rent, water, electricity, internet, you know, commercial insurance, you know, things like that, taxes. Like I want to see all of that stuff. I don't like seeing it all lumped into one bucket, because what can I change about a big bucket of overhead if I don't know what's in it? So going through your expenses, highlighting everything that is not a non-negotiable. Okay. And if you're in any of our programs, of any of our build your own business programs, build your own brand, if you've taken any online course with us before or heard us speak, you know that we preach on something called bare minimums. Your bare minimums are things that you have to have in order to open. Okay. So your rent, your water, your electricity, the toilet paper, stuff like that. A lot of people, I know this is silly, a lot of people forget about detergent and towels and shampoo and foils and just all the, like, water, coffee, all these different things for your business. That costs money. And, you know, you just throwing out a random number and what you think you're spending versus what you're actually spending, that's how money is slipping through the cracks. And all of the little things do add up. The next big place that I see people really losing money is going to be in their payroll. So your payroll, you know, and I know it feels like it probably is the most stressful thing ever to change. But if you've promised your team 50% commission and you're sharing 50% of top line revenue, chances are you probably have a line around the block of people who want to work for you. Congrats. But the negative side of that is you are sharing top line revenue with your service provider. And if you are not thinking about product cost, employer costs, just all your overhead, like if your overhead's 25% of what your sales are, and then you're giving 50% away to your stylist, and then you're paying another 10 or 12% in employer taxes, and then you got color, I mean, there's nothing left, absolutely nothing. And you can't run a business like that. You have to protect your margins. And unfortunately, our entire industry, since the beginning of freaking time, has been set up inaccurately. It is not, I don't know of a single industry that shares 50% of top line revenue with the talent. It's insane. So it's important, like I would say maybe a profit sharing situation, like that would be a better approach. But to go and like the idea is cool, but think about how many hundreds of thousands of salons there are, and everyone is speaking the same language, which is sharing top line revenue. So that's a hard mountain to climb. The best thing to do if you've realized that, okay, I'm giving too much, I didn't know what I was doing when I set this up, is to be transparent with your team, to be transparent and just say, hey, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I'm working with the business coach, or I've been investing in my mind. And, even if you're not paying anything, you're listening to this podcast for free, like whatever, blame us. Like I've been learning from, industry experts on this. And I've realized that, the reason that I'm in the red every single month here, which is kind of embarrassing to share with you guys, is because I am giving too much away. And I've been giving too much away for a very long time. Our service pricing was based off of what I thought I needed to charge based on what other people in the area were charging. I thought that, that was, what you did was a market analysis, like quickly. You did like a really quick one of like, that salon's charging that. The salon I just came from is charging this. I should charge $5 more or $5 less. Like that is the extent of most people's thought processes. And there's more to it. You have to consider, what is the business's larger income goal? If you want a $1 million salon, that's $83,333 a month. Divide that by how many weeks, divide that by how many days you're open, divide it by however many chairs you have. That determines what each chair needs to make on a daily basis just to hit your top line revenue of $83,333. And you have to consider of what percentage of your $83,000 monthly goal is going to rent. So we have a really amazing reel that we'll actually link in the description about this, where I actually break down exactly how much you can spend based on what your sales are. And a lot of people, when they open their salon and they commit to leases, including myself when I first started, and also when I expanded, it was a lot of girl math. It was like, okay, if I did, one extra install this month, I can pay for this. And it might work for a little while. But I can tell you, when things get challenging and your overhead becomes more and your business becomes bigger than just you and a couple others, that doesn't work. So most times in business and in life, you set things up a certain way and it gets you to a certain point, and then it starts breaking down, and then the freaking wheels fall off, and then you're just dragging yourself along the pavement. It's the main thing to consider is getting your overhead down. Canceling a Pandora subscription, cool. You're gonna save $10 a month. Switching to generic toilet paper, awesome. You might save $5, on a pack of toilet paper. Like that's the stuff that helps. But please keep in mind, the bigger chunks and that you're gonna have to chip away at is gonna be payroll. It's gonna also be your color costs, and really, really thinking about what brands you're doing business with. Are my services priced? And do I have enough allowed for this particular color look? And if you are just letting your stylist, mix unlimited amounts of color per client, thinking that they're going to go tack on extra money on the bill, it's not happening. They're not going to do that. And also, if they increase the ticket price, guess what else just increased? Like, let's say they raise it by $30 because they use more bleach. Well, the way that your system is set up, it's probably just going to pay their commission off the price point that they just increased, and you're not even getting your full $30 product cost back. So, What I love Boulevard. That's a software we use. We've been using it for many years. We actually are Boulevard partners. We get to help them like develop new cool features for the industry. So we really like the software because it really is the direction they go and the things they release. It's based off of what we need as owners. It's not based off what some, engineer thought was a good idea who has no pulse on the industry at all. It really comes back to what the industry needs and what type of visibility do we need to see in our businesses. So how we have our services set up is we know exactly every 15 minutes what our business needs to be operating. We know exactly what each chair needs to bring in every single month, every week, every hour. And also our opening, the number of days we're open vary from month to month. If it's Christmas or, a month where there's, Thanksgiving or something like that, like New Year's, you're going to have a couple days that you're closed. So guess what happens? Your daily goal and your weekly goal has now changed. So recalculating that stuff is important so you know where you need to land, but also making sure that in your software that your actual services are set up correctly and that the commission rates are based off of, a level system that exactly, okay, as my stylist is increasing her skill set, now what happens? Her time is worth more. So she gets a level up. And you can do one of two things. You can level up her price, you can level up her commission, or you could do both. But the main thing, if you have a stylist hitting you up for a raise, it's got to come from somewhere because otherwise your piece of the pie, which is already likely pretty small, is just getting smaller. Or you get no pie at all, which is not good. So making sure that anytime that you give a stylist a raise, that you're increasing their price point as well, it's going to really like soften that blow to you as a business owner and also allow them to still earn more. And if you think about it, we just had an election. There's tariffs that are being put on. Regardless of what you think about it, I've had people say like, oh, what are you going to do? A lot of your hair extensions come from China. And I'm like, okay, yeah, got it. Like, we're going to do what we can do. We're going to renegotiate. We're going to do whatever we have to do to get a better margin or the same. I mean, our margins haven't changed, but if they look like they're going to change, we're going to renegotiate and get a better margin. And if there's any discrepancy, what we're going to have to do is pass it along to the consumer. I don't like that. But guess what our consumer can then do? Go pass it along to their consumer. Okay, so that's how you can share the impact of inflation. You can share the impact of an increase of your overhead or anything like that. So, I see a lot where people they'll open a salon, or let's say they have a studio and then now they're going to go build out like a big girl salon and do this big build out and all this stuff, and they're just going to carry along the same rental rates, the same price points, the same everything as they were doing in their little tiny studio. And now you've got a 10x overhead of what you had before. Ask me how I know, okay? I used to be that girl. Back in 2016, that's what I did. I had an $1,800 a month studio. I was signing a big girl lease for like 13 grand a month, and I literally did the same shit. So this is how I know this. And to this day, doesn't matter if it's been a decade of time, it still happens all the time. I see people all the time. I just had somebody slide into my DMs that we coached probably 3 years ago. Great girl, married, kiddos, really great owner, really just ambitious, really cares a lot, built this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous salon. I'm just like, whoa, so pretty. Probably pretty expensive too. And is now struggling because all of her renters are paying the same price that they used to pay at the old place. And she doesn't know what to do. And she's losing money every month. And she doesn't want to let people down. She doesn't want to disappoint people. She doesn't want to piss her renters off and have them leave. But she's scared to death and doesn't know what to do. And what does she do instead? She just, I'm going to just work 5 days a week. I'm going to work longer hours. I'm going to see more clients. I'm not going to pay myself. I mean, it's just, like, as a business owner, you always eat last, that's for sure. And I don't know of a single business owner in business who's eating first, including ourselves. We don't eat first, we eat last. But you have to make sure that you're protecting your plate and what's going to be left there for you. So I hope this episode was helpful. I hope it's not, I don't want this to be discouraging to you. I want to educate you and I want to open your eyes to the different things that you really need to be looking at. And we will also link a budget sheet in the description as well for you guys to be able to use that. I swear we've been slinging this budget sheet forever. But it's great, and it allows you to really see the impact of what your decisions are. If you're spending, $500 on some subscription and you're doing that for 12 months, guess what? You're at $6,000 a year for that thing. Is that worth $6,000 to you? Yes or no? So the budget sheet's really great because you can really fill in a lot of your expenses and see the impact of what it is and decide, okay, if I'm losing if I'm at a 40, 50 grand loss a year, it's going somewhere. Where is it going? So it's not necessarily about what you make in business. It's about what you get to keep. So anyways, I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening. And please grab the resources in the description below. And if you are struggling in your business, you're wanting you need to save your business, you're on the verge of closing your doors, you're in those trenches that I was talking about, you don't know what to do, just get on a call with us. You literally have nothing to lose. Drew or myself, we'll talk to you. We'll help you. At least you'll walk away knowing what is your next step, and what levers do you have that you could pull. So anyway, I'll leave it there. But thank you guys so much for listening and for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode.